welcome to Smarter, Richer, Braver, the podcast that's especially curated for a generation of young people who want to step up, stand out, and live life on their own terms. A generation who aim to do better, not just for themselves, but for humanity as a whole. A generation who aim to be smarter, richer, and braver, because that's exactly what the world today needs. I'm your host, Marilyn Pinto, author and founder at KFI Global, and I'd like to warmly welcome all you Gen Zers. A special shout out to all our KFI Global students listening in. Please know that this podcast was made with you in mind, and I promise it's going to be worth your attention.
This podcast is strictly for those 25 years and younger. If you are older than that, please listen at your own risk. Common side effects include regret and anger for not having heard this earlier in your life.
Today, I want to talk to you about some common misconceptions that you might have about financial literacy. But first, what exactly is financial literacy and why do you need it? Well, financial literacy is simply the ability to make smarter money decisions. And while most grown-ups realize how important this skill is, for most youngsters like you, it's an unconscious incompetence. That is, you don't know that you don't know, and you are unaware about how critical this skill is for your future. But think about the following scenarios. Money is the number one cause of stress and worry for most grown-ups. It's the leading cause of divorce, family feuds, and arguments. It is the number one skill most grown-ups wish they had learned when they were young. And yet, what is the one thing you won't be taught about in school? That's right, managing money. Every single company selling a product, from Nike and Apple to Yeezys and Gucci, every single company is targeting you, Gen Z, to buy from them. They spend millions of dollars training their staff in how to sell to you and tweaking their algorithms to sell to you. Now tell me, how much training have you had in how to buy? Yep, zero sounds about right. Because of the state of the global economy, with the rising inflation and the looming recession, you are going to graduate into some of the toughest economic times in modern history. Now, I know this is hard to hear. What's worse is that we are letting you do that with zero training in money. How unfair is that? Learning how money works will help you tilt the scales in your favor. And I'm hoping that you're beginning to realize that this is a skill you need to learn, and the sooner the better. So now let's dive into 5 misconceptions that youngsters like you commonly have about this skill. Firstly, you might think it's not relevant to your career choice. Like most young people, you probably assume that financial literacy is only important to those choosing careers in finance or economics or banking. And this couldn't be further from the truth. And what compounds this unfortunate situation is the fact that even students studying finance and economics aren't taught how to manage their money. They assume they will be. Financial literacy is hugely relevant to you, irrespective of your career choice. It doesn't matter whether you want to be doctors or professional athletes or entrepreneurs. Learning how to be smart with money will make you better at your chosen career. Every career path is strewn with examples of people who had their success thwarted because of poor money decisions. Not understanding how money works or how to manage your money smartly and responsibly will stymie your success and put your future at risk. Next misconception. You think financial literacy is boring and difficult, especially if you aren't good at math. This misconception is probably the one that does the most to hinder young people on their journey to financial literacy. And again, it's one that's completely unfounded. If taught well, financial literacy is incredibly interesting because unlike most of what you learn in school, it's immediately relevant and instantly applicable to your daily life. You begin to view the world through this new powerful lens, and you will be thrilled at how so much of what you didn't understand before now makes sense. And for those of you who hate math, don't worry. You see, personal finance isn't a math-based skill. It's more about emotion and behavior and attitude. So as long as you can compute basic math, it won't hinder your ability to becoming good at managing your money. Here's another one. You think managing money is something you can learn when you grow up.
This podcast isn't meant to entertain you. It's meant to help you do life better by showing you how to think about and navigate important issues that aren't usually talked about to youngsters. But we believe that you need to hear this because it has the potential to change your life and the lives of other young people like you. So please share this episode with someone you care about, and if you haven't already, please hit the follow button. It helps us get these meaningful insights and messages in front of more youngsters.
I know you are inundated with schoolwork, and it's understandable that you'd like to defer any optional studying till you're adults. Except that this doesn't work out so well with respect to learning about money. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just much harder and less effective. Because of your age, you are in what's called the golden age of learning. That is, your brains are more powerful than at any other time in your lives. Due to heightened brain neuroplasticity, you learn faster at this stage. You also remember better, and this knowledge becomes hardwired in you and becomes second nature when you grow up. Getting a good foundation in managing money helps you build good money habits early on. It also gives you more time to practice, and with practice comes mastery. You now don't have to waste precious time and money learning through trial and error, as most adults have done. Ready for the next misconception? You think that watching a few topical videos on YouTube or TikTok is enough to learn about money. How I wish this were true, but it's not by a long shot. Learning to make smarter money decisions is a nuanced, complex, and extremely personal topic, and none of this is captured in a short, snappy, generalized video. It can't be. It's unlikely that any video or reel on tips and tricks will have a real impact on changing your mindset, attitude, and behavior. Because aside from deep-rooted subject knowledge, this requires deep awareness, curated discussions, and a profound reflection, all of which are conspicuous by their absence on social media platforms. Ready for the last one? You think that because you're using a debit card or a credit card or a payment or a budgeting app, that makes you financially literate. It really doesn't. This is a monumental leap of logic. While these cards and apps are super convenient for monitoring spending and making payments securely offline and online, they cannot be substituted for, nor should be mistaken for financial literacy. Being financially literate is so much more than just tracking where your money goes or knowing how much you spent last month. It's developing a proper mindset free of limiting beliefs. It's cultivating a pattern of good money habits that set the stage for smart and responsible money behaviors. It's developing a highly evolved understanding of financial freedom and how best to achieve it given your personal circumstance. No app or card can accomplish this. A well-designed financial education program, however, does just that. So if you haven't enrolled for one yet, you know what you got to do. I know this hasn't been easy to hear, but this podcast isn't about telling you what you want to hear. It's about telling you what you need to hear. At first glance, all of these misconceptions seem perfectly plausible, and grown-ups often fall for them too. But you need to be more discerning and understand how these misconceptions are debunked. You got your future riding on this. Thank you for listening. I want to help you use what you learned here. And the best way to do that is to get a podcast buddy. That's someone who also listens to this podcast. Then talk to your podcast buddy about the one takeaway from this episode that resonated with you the most. That's it. That's all you have to do. Remember that much of what is talked about on this podcast is stuff that's not typically talked about to young people. And it should be. It's stuff that you need to know so that you can lead a life that's, you guessed it, smarter, richer, and braver. This is your host, Marilyn Pinto, signing off until next time.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to broach in our upcoming episodes, please email us at smarterricherbraver@gmail.com. And if you'd like to sign up for one of our award-winning programs, go to kfi.global and check out our upcoming schedule.